Well, as 2025 has come to an end and we're on to 2026, I want to look back at the slate of games that I played in 2025 and rank them. Now that I'm doing full variety content, I want to make this a yearly tradition as a way to look back on the year that was. This isn't a ranking of games that came out in 2025, these were just the games that I played last year. This video will contain spoilers, so be warned. We'll go in order from worst to best. I played 17 games in 2025, so starting at number 17 is Destiny 2. I kicked off the new year playing Destiny 2, which is the game that first got me into doing YouTube. I have a complicated relationship with that game, so we'll just rank it at the bottom of the list. The gameplay itself is actually quite good when the game works properly, but after 2 rounds of layoffs in 2023 and 2024, the quality of the game suffered greatly. Nothing worked the way it's supposed to, and there's just a litany of bugs that made playing the game a pain to play. So much so, in fact, that I finally had to give up on the game that I once loved. I stayed following the news and sentiment of the game for the rest of the year, and that was definitely the right call. The game has just gotten worse and worse while Bungie cranks up the content in the microtransaction store, has cracked down on players' ability to earn premium currency, and doubled down on every shitty retention bait tactic that they have. Even for all the years that I played it and loved the game, I never recommended it to people, but in 2025, I made content actively warning players about Bungie's scummy tactics and to stay far away from this game. By all accounts, their latest expansion, Renegades, that dropped in December is decent, but the player counts show that most people have moved on as I have. It's truly sad how far a once great game has fallen. Up next, at number 16, we have The Last of Us Part 2. I played the first game back in 2020, and I wasn't all that impressed. Now, one thing that you do have to know about me is that I don't really play games for the story. I much prefer good gameplay. That being said, even if Last of Us wasn't the most engaging video game, I still appreciated the story and I generally enjoyed it. But it is not the type of game for a person like me, and that's okay. I watched the TV show adaptation and I really enjoyed that. But with Last of Us 2, I couldn't even appreciate the story because it was fucking painful. Killing Joel isn't what made me hate it, though it definitely did make me a little sad, but the story of the road to revenge just did nothing for me. Ellie basically just ruins her life to get revenge on the woman who killed Joel, all to get to the finish line, have a chance to kill her, and then just lets her go. If the game ended with Ellie and Dina living on the farm raising JJ, then I still wouldn't have loved the game, but I maybe could have enjoyed it at least a little bit. But the final few hours of that game were pure pain for someone like me. And the very end just had me completely rolling my eyes. It's such an unsatisfying game by every measure. The fact that this game won a Game of the Year award is truly mind-boggling. People have some bad taste in games, man. My main motivation for watching it was to get ready for season 2 of the TV show. I told my fiance that I hated it after I played it, and then we watched season 2, and guess what? She hated that season, after loving the first season. The only positive about the game was that it only took about 30 hours to beat, but I still wish I could get that time back. I did not enjoy this one at all. Next, at number 15, we have Monster Hunter Wilds. Man, this one hurt. I played Monster Hunter World back in 2018 when it came out, and I loved that game. I played it quite a bit, but that summer, Destiny 2 started to get good with Warmind, and then Forsaken dropped, and I never really stopped playing D2. As a result, Monster Hunter World fell to the wayside for me. But in 2025, when I was at my wit's end with the state of Destiny 2, I couldn't wait to sink my teeth back into the Monster Hunter franchise with Monster Hunter Wilds. And I did. I put about 80 hours into it, but it didn't grab me like I had hoped. A game like that, for me, is all about the endgame and doing endgame build crafting. So I basically rushed through the story to get to endgame, only to discover that the endgame was non-existent. They sanded down every rough edge in the game to appeal to a wider gaming market, but in so doing, they also whittled away what made the franchise so special. Tracking monsters is what helped build immersion in the world around you. Not being able to lock onto the enemy with your weapon is what developed a skill gap and helped make learning combat so satisfying. Taking things like this out of the game made it lose its identity, and as a result, a lot of people walked away unsatisfied. These games are designed to grow over time, and I won't write it off for good, but the version that dropped in 2025 was extremely disappointing, especially when compared to Monster Hunter World. Here's hoping that Capcom turn it around in the future. Next up is Death Stranding. Again, I'm a gameplay guy, but I had heard so many positive things about this game, and I did love Metal Gear Solid growing up, so I was hopeful for some Kojima magic. Unfortunately, the game just missed the mark for me. The story was pretty weird and out there, and the gameplay was extremely jank in all sorts of ways. I know the walking was designed to be difficult, but it felt super goofy at times, as did the driving. The story is definitely not for everyone. I didn't hate it, but a lot of moments were quite cheesy. I didn't find the main antagonist in Higgs to be very compelling. He's just an over-the-top bad guy, and again, the best way I can describe it is cheesy. I did really appreciate trying to be as efficient as possible in my deliveries though. Delivering tons of cargo with stops along the way and not damaging anything was very satisfying, as was connecting the entire world with highways and zip lines. As someone who's a perfectionist in real life, I really appreciated making fast and efficient deliveries. That is honestly what I enjoyed the most. That and the parallels between the game and real life. The metaphors for climate change and how not being connected would make people much sadder. I definitely agree with a lot of the underlying messages in the game. All in all though, I put close to 100 hours into it and I walked away quite indifferent about the experience as a whole. At number 13, we have the sequel to Death Stranding with Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. Everything I just said about the first game applies to the second game. However, the gameplay sandbox was expanded greatly. More weapons and gadgets and vehicles and this and that. A lot of the rough edges from the first game were sanded down. And I said how I didn't like that in Monster Hunter Wilds, but I did appreciate it here in DS2. Being able to arc and shape my ziplines was a huge quality of life improvement, so I could connect them much easier. Running and driving felt much smoother in the second game, there was just way less jank. The world was bigger and had more geographical variety, so that was nice. The delivery ranking system was tuned a little low in my opinion, and I think that was just a way to pad out playtime. Again, as a perfectionist who wanted to 5-star every vendor, this wound up just becoming more annoying than engaging by the end of my playthrough. I was just kind of over the gameplay loop at that point. I had also just played the first game before the second, so maybe I was just a bit fatigued on the game design in general. But I really did appreciate all the quality of life improvements in the second game. But the story's cheesiness also ramped up like crazy in the second game. Higgs is just such an over-the-top bad guy. Again, I just didn't find him compelling at all. Overall, the Death Stranding franchise just really isn't for me. I wish it didn't take over 200 hours of gameplay to realize that, but such is life. I'm glad I got to experience them firsthand to know what all the hype was about though. But in my opinion, the hype for this franchise is unwarranted. Next, at number 12, we have Donkey Kong Bonanza. This game was fine. I got every single banana in the game, so I experienced all it has to offer. It was a perfectly fine game. Nothing was egregiously bad about it, aside from the crazy frame rate drops that you'd get when you destroyed too much stuff at once, but nothing really stood out to me either. The missions to find the bananas were all quite easy, but this is a game probably geared towards kids, so this is not all that surprising. The story, pretty stock standard, nothing really stood out to me, though I really did enjoy DK and Pauline's relationship. And the way they worked together with the gameplay mechanics worked really well. The skill tree in the game, it's fine, though it would have been cool to find upgrades rather than upgrade a skill tree, but to each their own. The boss fights were all easy, the worlds were nice and had good variety, but again, everything about this game was just fine. Nothing really stood out, just perfectly average. At number 11, we have another Nintendo game, their flagship title for the Switch 2, Mario Kart World. Much was made about them charging $80 US, but I think this was a marketing ploy as much as anything, as if you got it bundled with the Switch 2, you got it for only $50. I won't dive into that whole debate, but I did think the game was good. The tracks were fun, and the changes to the driving mechanics were honestly awesome. The rail grinds and wall rides are cool and feel great. The skill ceiling in the game is nearly infinite, and it is crazy what some people are able to pull off in this game. This gives it huge replayability, which is what it's all about in a game like this. They also added some fun new power-ups. The online definitely has some issues for sure, but I had lots of fun racing through the Grand Prix, and the addition of the knockout mode was really fun as well. I enjoyed my time with this game a lot, but I put it down when I beat all the knockout tours, the Grand Prix, and the time trials. But if I have friends over and we feel like a party game, there are few games funner than just jamming out with your friends to some Mario Kart. I know the open world leaves a lot to be desired, but I don't mind them trying something new. All in all, it was a pretty good game. Next, at number 10, we have Ark Raiders. This one's honestly tough to rank, as I never actually bought this game, that's why it's ranked so low. I played the beta and the server slam, and I really enjoyed my time with it. I think it's a travesty that it wasn't nominated for the best sound design at the Game Awards. I think it has the best sound design I have ever heard in a video game. You could definitely argue Battlefield 6, and I wouldn't disagree with you, as they're both top notch. The game has an incredibly addictive gameplay loop, and I know if I had the time, I would love going topside over and over again. But because I am just one man and I have so many games that I want to play, I just couldn't find the time for more Ark Raiders outside of the couple sessions that I got in. It's an absolutely awesome game and a great take on the extraction shooter genre. It deserves all the praise and accolades it's gotten and more. Props to Embark Studios on making such a good game. At number 9, we have Battlefield 6. Credit to EA for making a military FPS online shooter that is actually fun in 2025. For far too long now, COD has had the market cornered and pumped out slop year over year. But the late Vince Zampella, rest in peace to a true legend of the industry, joined EA DICE to bring back the glory days of multiplayer shooters for one more year. Battlefield 6 is a throwback to a simpler time when it was just fun to log in and slay out without the need for manipulative tactics to keep you hooked. You just played because it was fun. The sound design is absolutely incredible. You feel like you're actually on a real battlefield. I love the class system and how you can contribute to your team's score in ways outside of your kill-death ratio. Like, I love just going all in on my role. Just constantly healing a tank as an engineer or healing my entire team with my AED paddles. They've made playing the objective both fun and rewarding, which for some reason seems to be a hard thing to do. But in this game, they do it effortlessly. It's just so much fun. The time just melts away when I'm playing Conquest or any other number of fun and engaging game modes. And then shortly after launch, they added a Battle Royale. I really enjoy playing duo RedSec with a real life friend of mine. I enjoyed Fortnite at launch back in 2017, but I've never been super into BR. But with RedSec, it really has that one more run energy, and I just love playing it again and again and again. It really keeps coming back to that. Sure, there are balance issues and bloom issues and this and that, like the weapon XP progression is way undertuned. But none of that really matters when I'm playing. I just like trying to slay out or play the OBJ. It just feels fun, and in an era where games try to do so much extra to keep you playing, it's shockingly refreshing to play something that you just genuinely enjoy moment to moment. At number 8, we have 2024's Game of the Year, Astro Bot. I freaking love this game so much. I streamed it at the start of 2025 and fell in love instantly. The homages to past Sony titles are so well done. From the Bloodborne level to the Horizon level to my boy Kratos from God of War, this is a loving tribute to all things Sony. The gameplay is phenomenal. It has so many fun mechanics for the player to learn and master and use in a vast array of different levels. The game is just so much fun and a great entry into platformers. After I beat the game in January, I told my fiance she should play it, and she absolutely loves it. She adores the music in the theme song, she loves the little main character, loves overcoming all the unique levels and challenges that it throws at her. It's been such a joy to watch her grow and improve as a gamer. It honestly makes me so happy and proud. So thanks to Team Asobi for making a game that can help convert my bookworm fiance into a gamer. I love how much she loves it. And I know 9 may seem like a low ranking, but I want to be clear that I absolutely love this game. But I played some absolute all-timers this year, so that's why it just cracked the top 10. I also love games that challenge me, and while this game definitely has some decent challenge, I grew up on platformers, so it isn't all that difficult. But for someone like my fiance, it's a great entry point into getting better at games, and I appreciate it so much for that. It's just a phenomenal video game in every sense of the word. Speaking of games that I like to play with my fiance, at number 7, we have Split Fiction. We played It Takes Two in 2024, and she didn't struggle too much. We were able to beat the game, and she really enjoyed it. She then played some Astro Bot, and then when we played Split Fiction, I was super impressed with how much she had improved. Which was good because Split Fiction was definitely a step up from It Takes Two. The level design in this game is simply amazing, and the final level sequence with the camera switching scenes constantly is a video game level that I will never forget. It is one of the most impressive things I've played in a video game. I'm always astounded by some of the things that Hazelight Studios is able to do in their games. They are some of the most unique video games out there and the best co-op games to play in this day and age. I love getting to enjoy a couch co-op game in the big 2026, and it's even more special getting to enjoy it with the woman I love. I love all the co-op mechanics that they implement into every level. They're always just so well done and well tuned. I truly can't express how much I love these games. They're truly so fun. At number 6, we have another past Game of the Year award winner in Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Funnily enough, I tried this game back when it won Game of the Year, realized I sucked, and quickly gave up. It gives very little direction and it's extremely punishing. But as time went on, I've become a much better gamer and I had heard so many positive things about this game, so I really wanted to grit my way through it and I'm so glad I did. I wound up beating the game 5 times and getting the Platinum Trophy. I spoke about abrasiveness in titles like Death Stranding and Monster Hunter, and sometimes that is what makes a game great. On the surface, I would say that I don't really like games that don't direct you in some way, but as time went on, I truly came to love and respect it in Sekiro. I love that you can explore the world in whatever way you want. I adore the level design and how it loops back around on itself. The level design is truly top tier in this game. I love the environments, I love the boss fights, and I love the combat design. There are few greater feelings in gaming than beating Ganishiro in the opening of the game. On your first playthrough, you get absolutely worked by that dude because you just suck at the game. But on my third playthrough, I had gotten good enough and knew his attack patterns well enough that I was actually able to beat him. You get a unique cutscene because you're supposed to lose to him, and the dude still winds up chopping your hand off because it needs to happen, but even still, it's just so satisfying and it's a tangible way to see how far you have come and how much you've improved. I loved learning all the boss mechanics and movesets. It was so satisfying feeling yourself grow and improve. The story, again, is not spoon-fed to you, but it's super satisfying to learn about the world and discover the 4 unique endings. I even beat the game start to finish in about 5 hours. Again, it was just super cool to see how much you can grow and improve, and overcome bosses that you once struggled mightily against in just an attempt or two. I can't really explain why I love this game so much, but I really do. At number 5, we have Hades. One thing about me is I love Greek mythology. Another thing about me is I love build crafting and math and damage stacking. And another thing about me is I don't think I've ever played a roguelike until this one. Or in this case, a roguelite. Thought I'd just clarify that before any Reddit neckbeards get all up in arms. But what a one to start with. I sucked at this game at first because I had just come off playing Hollow Knight Silksong where you have to play your life, so I was playing far too passively. But I quickly learned to play more aggressively and kill the enemies before they can kill you, and oh man, I was hooked. I love everything about this game. The art direction, amazing. The voice acting, incredible. The build crafting, extremely satisfying. The story is great, and it even ties into why you have to keep making your way out of the underworld over and over again. The game is infinitely replayable thanks to the RNG nature of roguelites, and the incremental upgrades you get run over run feel very rewarding. Even if you don't make it far at all or don't get it clear, you're still making progress. The game is the definition of just one more run. It's incredibly addictive. My only negative to say about the game is also what makes it great. I would love to make content on this game and make a ton of builds, but you can't intentionally make the exact build that you want to thanks to the RNG nature of the genre. But that's a small price to pay because it makes it so satisfying when you do get a god run of exactly the type of build you're going for. Or, sometimes you randomly stumble into a god build that you hadn't even thought of but only came across because the stars aligned. I've completed over 200 runs and played over 120 hours, and I could easily double that playtime if I wanted. This game is just so incredibly good with all the different ways there is to play. At number 4, we have Hollow Knight Silksong. I first played Hollow Knight just a couple weeks before Silksong dropped, and I was so hyped to play Silksong. And it was pretty much everything I could have hoped for. It was Hollow Knight, but bigger and better with just enough changes to make it feel unique to itself and not like a direct sequel. You have different crests so that you can change your playstyle, giving the game even more replayability. The game is full of beautiful and distinct biomes that are all memorable in their own ways. It's full of unique and frustrating boss fights. But I will say, some of them are more annoying than difficult, which made it more of a relief to beat them than a feeling of satisfaction like you got in the original game or in something like Sekiro. This is my one gripe with the game, but it is quite minor all things considered, and a lot of the bosses are super fun and memorable, but some are definitely just on the annoying side. I was streaming this game and making boss guides on YouTube, so I think I probably didn't get to appreciate the game as much as I could have, just because I was super busy trying to beat the game and make videos and everything. So maybe I rushed through it a little too much and didn't get to stop and smell the roses and really appreciate everything in the game. This isn't a gripe of the game, but games also don't exist in a vacuum, so I'm just saying that my personal experience with it may not have been as good as it could have been. That being said, it's still my 4th highest game of the year, so I definitely enjoyed the hell out of it. But overall, this is still an all-timer of a game that I can't wait to replay again in the near future when the Sea of Sorrow expansion drops. And if you want to see me play it live, then be sure to follow me on Twitch at itstizzle7. At number 3, we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'd heard good things about this game, but I didn't play it on release because I was still finishing up Death Stranding. In a sense, I'm glad I finished Death Stranding first because I never would have wanted to go back to it after touching this masterpiece. The soundtrack in this game is maybe the best I've heard in any video game. Oh my god, it's so good. Some of the songs are just so touching. I just absolutely adore this soundtrack. The story of this game is probably the best story I've ever played in a video game. It just feels very real and deeply human. It really respects the intelligence of the player and proves a fact of life that things aren't all black and white. People are human and have flaws. Bad guys can have good motivations, and protagonists can be both likable but flawed. I mentioned before how I'm not a big story guy when it comes to games, but this game's story really resonated with me. It's an all-timer for sure. The gameplay is also excellent. I've never been a big turn-based guy, but I did really love the parry system in Sekiro, and this implements that into the turn-based gameplay. Then it adds on a super in-depth build crafting system, and it results in an extremely satisfying gameplay loop. Simon is probably the boss that I spent the most time ever trying to beat in a video game, taking me close to 5 hours to finally beat him. The voice acting in this game is truly incredible, some of the best and most memorable that I can think of for any video game. I'm already looking forward to another playthrough of this one early in 2026. Maybe it will make me love it even more. I'm not sure if 3 is too low for this list, but my top 2 games were also just that incredible. It's honestly just really hard to rank at this point, but I can't speak highly enough of this game. I just think the replayability of it is not quite as strong as these next two, and like I said, for me, gameplay is king. So coming in at number 2 is Hades 2. It has every single thing that I love. I mentioned how much I love the first game because of its build crafting elements paired with me loving Greek mythology, so naturally I just love that the upgrades or boons are all tied to the Greek gods. And the gods and upgrades in the sequel are even better than the first. They truly took every element of the first game and improved it. There's literally double the dungeons and bosses in this game. Another thing about me is that I love magic and spellcaster classes. In Diablo I like a wizard, in Destiny 2 I like a warlock, in Anthem I liked the storm. I love spellcasters, and this game also introduces a magic component that is a ton of fun and adds to the combat loop in a meaningful way. When I finished Hades 1, I literally thought, I'm not sure about Hades 2, I don't see how they can improve and top that. I loved Zagreus as a protagonist and loved pretty much everything from the first game. Yet in the second installment, they shocked me and honestly improved on so many aspects that I didn't even think needed improving. I just can't gush enough about this amazing game. I'm well over 100 hours into it now, and even though I've done everything in the game basically, I still just keep playing it because it's just fun to play. I bought it for the Switch too, and it's honestly the perfect game to play on the road or on a handheld. I'm working on a review of this game as we speak for my second channel where I'll be gushing about it even more, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell on that channel so that you don't miss it. I'll leave a link in the description. And finally, at number 1 we have Hollow Knight. I had heard so much about that game over the years, but I didn't know much about it, other than that it's an indie darling and a game for the ages. I thought, okay, when Silksong gets a release date, I'll play it the month before it drops. Well, Team Cherry shadow dropped the release of Silksong with only 2 weeks before it came out. So I busted my ass and got the 112% completion just a couple days before the release of Silksong. This was a blessing and a curse. I mentioned that games don't exist in a vacuum. Well, I was lucky enough to have a contingent of diehard Hollow Knight players watch my first playthrough while I streamed it on Twitch, and they even helped me along through it when I needed a hand, like to help guide me when I was lost. I still mostly played my way, but if there was a breakable wall that I'd missed, they'd give me a heads up. I started in Deep Nest, which is an area that many people don't like, I guess, but I was enamored by the game and the world from start to finish. I don't think I've ever played a game with so much character. It just oozes a unique style and is so lovable. I love every NPC and boss. The boss fights were challenging, but not as frustrating as Silksong. I beat Pantheon 4, but didn't have time to do P5 before Silksong, so just before making this video, I went back and did it, and it was truly a great way to kick off 2026. That's an insanely tough challenge, and I can't even imagine doing it with all bindings. That being said, I think it's so awesome that the developers added those to the game and gave diehard players a way to push themselves to the limit. This game has so much replayability and such a high skill ceiling, it's just wild. But back to my experience with the game, the reason the tight timeline was a curse was because I would have loved to keep playing it even more, to try different builds and to try and do a Steel Soul run and stuff. but that's okay, I can always do that in the future. I love the people that came out to all my Hollow Knight streams. They made it such a wonderful experience, and I understand why it was fun for them. It is truly such a special game, so seeing someone experience it for the first time helps you relive your first time. There's truly nothing like it. I honestly can't really remember a game where I had such an amazing and immersive experience on my first playthrough. Maybe something like Super Mario 64, but I was like 6 years old, so probably couldn't appreciate it as much, because so much is new and exciting to you as a child. Clair Obscur was also great, but I think the story will actually be better the second time through when you know what's going on, as the foreshadowing will make more sense. But back to Hollow Knight, the level design and unique worlds and all the secrets were all so fun and incredible to discover. Nightmare King Grim is maybe my favorite boss fight in any game. Mantis Lords is also peak. The soundtrack in this game is so damn good. I could go on and gush for ages, but I already did that in my review, so go check that out if you want to hear more. As I said, my top 5 is full of all-timers, so it was really hard to rank them. They're all incredible masterpieces in my eyes, but I think I did a good job of capturing what I liked about each experience. My gaming resume for 2025 is going to be tough to beat in 2026, but I have games like Elden Ring, Cyberpunk 2077, Red Dead Redemption 2, and The Witcher 3 on deck, so I'm hopeful that it will compete with 2025. I truly can't wait to get after it in 2026 and experience even more masterpieces. And again, if you want to follow along, then join my Discord and you'll get notified whenever I'm live on Twitch, and like I said, like and subscribe to the channel for more. But that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, and let me know down in the comments what games you enjoyed in 2025, or what you're looking forward to in 2026. Thanks so much for watching if you're still here, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.